Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am venturing through Star Trek for the first time, and discussing every few episodes with my wife Abbie and our old friend Nate. This week, we will discuss the next 3 episodes of Star Trek, the original series. Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, The Mark of Gideon, and That Which Survives. And with that, set a course for planet whatever in the something system. Ahead, warp factor 6. I had to show you my newest go to the bookstore downtown purchase.
Oh yeah. The Trouble with Tribbles, is that a novelization of the episode?
Oh, it is not.
Oh.
It is written by the one-time college student who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles and
Okay.
submitted it, and it's his retelling of how that episode got written and made.
No way.
Yeah. So I saw it
That's
because it was in with all the different Star Trek novels, because I go there and I look and see it's all the same pile of books every time, but I'm just like, oh, I wonder what else is there, and just looking around, I was just like, this one seems, I haven't noticed this one before. And yeah, it was a like young college student wanted to be a science fiction writer and loved Star Trek and was like, I'm gonna write an episode, and was one of the apparently like 6,000 scripts that were sent in to Paramount, and yeah,
and
it got picked
and became one of the most
and
iconic
became one
ever.
of the most iconic episodes of the series. So
So
five
that's
bucks.
not bad.
I was like,
This is
yeah,
slightly more expensive than $5, but if you want to go look for it at your local grocery store or whatever,
yeah.
this is the current Time magazine.
Oh,
Katie picked this up for me a couple days ago.
I may have to go pick that up.
Yeah, I've not read it yet. I've kind of paged through it. It looks pretty interesting. But
I may
yeah,
have to run
he
to.
goes, there's a Time Magazine Star Trek thing. Do you want it? I'm like, well, that's a silly question. Yes, I want it.
Yeah. So I'm going to. I feel I already have a pretty eclectic Star Trek book collection.
I
That
love it.
it's.
I haven't heard of any of these books you found. Like, never
I
heard of
know.
them.
I'm gonna find like all of the obscure books. But
Do
yeah,
it.
this one I was just reading a little bit on it, and I was reading more of the this one here. I just happen to have at my desk because I'm
Yep.
still reading through this one, and some of the stuff where we've asked questions like, I wonder how this was at that time. And it was like, oh yeah, that totally wasn't the thing. It was unprecedented that they got a second pilot.
That's crazy.
Like unheard of.
Yeah, that was not a thing that ever happened.
Yeah. So many things that happened with it were just, yeah, unheard of at that time.
So Abbie's here. That means we're going to review Elaan of Troyius, right?
I told her just not to watch it.
That's probably okay.
You're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
Am I muted now?
Nope.
Nope.
So no, I watched the ones I was told to watch. So did
You
not watch
missed
that one.
out. I'm very
I said
conflicted.
That's what
skip
Aaron
Elaan of
said. He
Troyius.
said I would. He said, "quote
You would have
You will
hated it.
absolutely hate it."
You would have hated
there
it.
was
There
was a
lots of things to
Was
hate
it
in that
problematical?
episode.
it was
However,
it had some of the more problematical moments that we've seen in the series, including the lady, kind of a rougher wild lady, slapped Kirk, and he full on like punched her out.
Okay, then.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was, yeah.
Cool. All the cool
It-
times with that.
It was an
Cool.
episode. Nate
It
loved
was
it.
an episode.
Nate loved it.
I did give it I gave it a 7. Like that scene was obviously awful in every possible way. However, the overall story was actually really good.
So, which episodes did you guys watch? Because you told me 15, 16, 17, Aaron, which is what I
Yeah,
did.
last week we
Oh,
talked
you guys
about
are
that one.
you guys are finishing
Elaan
up
of
your
Troyius is
discussion.
13. So you're still good.
You watched the ones we were supposed to. Yeah, do we want to just jump into this week's episodes? Yeah, so let that be your last battlefield. And as we'll see a bit of a trend with these episodes, there were bits that I liked and then bits that just didn't quite work. I feel that's kind of how all of these episodes were this week. But we can start with episode 15 of season 3. Let that be your last battlefield. I gave this one a 6. I thought it
Okay.
was okay. I've got a lot of thoughts on it. There were just kind of random little comments and quotes I wrote down, but then had just it it was one that gave a lot to think about. I think, and was very direct in its message, in its message.
Do you think? Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit?
So it was interesting, and it made me think a bit like if shows are that direct today, and I can think of some things that are that direct, but it seems so often that there, at least today, there's a lot more to think about regarding like what's a hidden message or what's the underlying message. There's not quite so much come hit you in the face with
Right.
it necessarily, or maybe just of what I watch. But yeah, I thought this was really direct, and then it made me wonder: was this episode in the time viewed as kind of overbearing and preachy, or was it just, hey, we've got a message to put out here, and we're just going to do it? And that's kind of how I feel. At least, yeah, some of these episodes that we watched, kind of a recurring trend there, where it's just like we've got a message and we're gonna fit it into a story, and that's what we're gonna do here. And that's kind of how a lot of this one felt.
So I want to get to that in a second, and I'm going to derail us for a minute and then bring us back.
Hmm.
Because one of the things I learned over the last week that I didn't know, and Abbie, maybe you knew this, I'd be curious to know if you did, was so obviously we talked about the fact that Star Trek was canceled after its second season. There was this huge letter writing campaign to bring the show back that was extremely effective, and it got it renewed for a third season, right? And third and final season. What I didn't realize or forgot or something was that Gene Roddenberry actually stepped away from the show after the second season. He went, I'm out. He was pissed at the network. He didn't want anything to do with NBC. NBC didn't want anything to do with him. And he said, I'm done. I'm getting out of here. You guys have at it. And NBC, took this show, and they obviously renewed it for the third season, but they also shifted it to the Friday 10 p.m. slot where shows go to die.
The death
Right?
slot.
Yep. So they were looking to get rid of it, right? And so it led me to kind of think about how inconsistent and how very bumpy this season is, and how maybe that can be attributed to the fact that you didn't have kind of Gene Roddenberry at the helm, kind of guiding the series and where it was going. And the reason why I bring that up and to kind of bring it back on track for a second is I wonder with episodes like this, where they get a little more heavy-handed than normal or things like that, if that's not, I don't know if intentional is the correct word, but a result of the fact that you don't have Gene Roddenberry in the background saying, no, we got to tone it down. We got to, go this direction with it. We got to make it more metaphorical than hitting something head on. Or if they were just like, screw it, he's out of the way, we're going to do whatever we want, and we're going to be as heavy-handed as we decide to be in order to drive the show forward.
And that's interesting because I was watching it and thinking I wondered if they could see the writing on the wall, they knew the end was in sight, and then it felt almost like they were approaching it like, all right, I know we're on our way out. I've still got things to say, and I'm gonna say them
And
and
who's going to
get
stop me
that
on this
message out
Friday
there.
10
And
p.m.
nobody,
time
yeah,
slot?
what are they gonna do? Cancel us? And
Yeah.
so I thought it was
Some of all of that,
I
maybe?
I mean, what was that?
Some of all of that, maybe?
Yeah. But and that's not even saying any commentary on what the message was. I thought the message was, a good one. Stop hating each other. It will lead to your
Because we're different.
destruction. And
Yeah.
that's a very solid message. Can't really argue with that.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, yeah, it was very just overt in that it was they had lines like you must end up dead if you don't stop hating. I mean, and
Mhm.
it was as we've talked about, it was a volatile time in the late 60s in America.
Very.
And so and there were lines in there that I thought fit pretty well today. Um
Hmm.
it was part of where I struggled with this episode and why I only gave it a 6 and thought it was just okay, even though it had a good message. I mean, like I said, who can argue with a message of stop hating everybody? It it's going to lead to your destruction. But
Yep.
it it was there was such a juxtaposition between part of the message and then the overall message of the show. So much of the message of the show is we're in the 23rd century and we're past this. And there's hope that we can get past this.
Yep.
But for these two individuals, there was no hope. And it was like they said, you need to stop hating, but then they were like, there's no way they can. So, in a way, it's like their message is very heavy handed, but it's like they don't know what they're trying to say. Is it the hopeful message that you can get past this, or is it just acknowledging the reality that a lot of individuals won't, and that will lead to their destruction? And
So
I can see both being a legitimate kind of message of this episode where there is hope on like a societal level, but for a lot of individuals, it's gonna be bad.
and I think that's true. So let's explore that a little bit more because I think you're spot on. I think that's true, right? I mean, if you look at the state of race relations in this country today as it compares to the late 60s, as a whole, things are a lot better than the late 60s and prior, right?
Mhm.
There are still pockets of that. I mean, let's face it, the Ku Klux Klan still exists. Like that is still a thing. There is still such a thing as white supremacy in this country, right? It's gonna take time for that to fade away. It hasn't honestly been that long since
Yeah.
that was a since they were, a major, I won't say political group, but a big part of the American culture, right? We were talking about like current generation still alive that grew up in that.
Mhm.
So I think you're spot on, and I don't know that they did a good job of talking about this, but you are kind of talking about the difference between a society movie being able to move on even if the individuals don't, right?
Yeah.
That there's always going to be that subset of people that you're just never going to change their mind on things. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Oh, and I thought the most applicable line to today was when Spock said, to expect sense from two mentalities of such extreme viewpoints is not logical.
Yep.
But again, it brought me back to just like I, on the one side, it didn't feel like a great it didn't feel like a satisfying conclusion to the episode, that there is this hopeful future that carries over the arc of the entire series,
Mm-hmm.
for just basically without them even saying it. And they do address it throughout, but they don't make a big deal of, look how progressive and advanced we are as a society. It's more just, we're going to show them that, look, none of these things that you think matter now actually matter, and look at these people getting along on this starship.
Yep.
So I think they've taken that approach where it is just this kind of part of the series, just this hope for the future, but then being so bleak in the ending for these individuals and their society. Um, and but then, like I said, maybe that's the most realistic ending, even if it didn't feel
Well,
necessarily satisfying. But I can't imagine it would also feel satisfying if it was like, you know what, you're right, Lokai, let's get along.
yeah,
I mean,
after
that wouldn't
50,000 years
have,
of chasing each other across the galaxy. Yeah.
right, that also would not have felt like
Yeah.
it fit.
I, I think
So
the
I don't
message,
know, I don't know how they could have made this episode end in a satisfying way, given how they set it up. But
no,
at the same time, it had a good message, but just something just didn't click quite right for me. So that's why I only said it was okay.
I think the message is, and I'm gonna use a term that's gonna make Abbie laugh. The message was in the lack of an HEA. There's no happily ever after. Oh, come on, I used one of your book terms.
I don't remember that being a book term.
Oh, see, Katie says that to me all the time.
Your wife is a
Apparently,
machine in how much
yeah.
like I read a lot. She is a machine.
She only did 170 books in 2023.
That's it.
Only. Aaron didn't know
Crazy.
that apparently. 100, it might have been 171.
But that was
Three
last
and a
year was
half
the
books a
year,
week.
but that
Yeah.
was the year of Akatar, and her books are 800 pages each. So more oomph does to it.
Yeah. But I said that as kind of a joke, but I think honestly that is the message of, it's, we can figure this out, or you have this alternative. And it's certainly not the first time we've had a Star Trek episode that hasn't ended on a happy note. And I
Yeah.
think that's okay. Now, that being said, I
Right.
also gave it a 6. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I don't know, even as we were jumping on and I was looking at my ratings, I was almost like, could I be convinced to bump it up to a 7? But I still just can't quite get there. I didn't feel like
Right.
the plot was cohesive enough. I think
Yeah.
there's potential for that plot to be a 9 or a 10 without like major modifications. I think the message and the idea was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't stupid. I just couldn't get
And
anything.
I don't even feel like it was poorly executed
Oh,
necessarily. It's just, I can't put my finger on what it was. Something just didn't quite work. But I think, as I look at some of the trivia too for these episodes that we watched this week, there's kind of a trend of Gene Roddenberry's gone, and this one and another one, a producer basically being like, I'm out. I can't make the show that I want to make with the restrictions you're putting on me. So
yep.
they're putting a product out there that ends up being just okay, and is kind of what it's been through 70 plus episodes, but just isn't quite there. And that's, I think, the trend I at least saw through these episodes. Abbie, what was your rating or your thoughts on it? You've been kind of quiet.
So I gave it a 6. Um, it had a good message. It had a very, I'm trying to decide if it's more black and white in how stories went in the 60s versus now. I think we tend to be more subtle in most cases now than we were then. Thinking back again, like Rifleman and things like that. It's always black and white morals to these stories. And so I don't necessarily think that it would have been outside of cultural norms to just state black and white, what's right or wrong. But at the same time, I think a large portion of society wasn't aware or self-conscious, self-aware enough to recognize that they were the problem. So that was a little bit of a calling out potentially, because I mean, legally was correct at this time, but not socially acceptable, especially in certain parts of the country, I'm sure.
For sure.
So I agree that the storyline was good. Like I liked the storyline. I had to break it down because there was some really bad, like they executed poorly, in my opinion, with some really bad dialogue and just really terrible ways they went about it. Where it's just examples I have of, he starts a self-destruct sequence and they did nothing to try to shut him up or to stop anybody else from saying anything or doing anything. And Kirk literally says over his leadership skills were lacking on this one, in my opinion. He announced to the group over the entire ship, and we know the ship is 200 plus people. We're off course and out of control. Like that's his ship-wide announcement. Just heads up.
You mean that
and
doesn't
then,
put people at ease and want to get them to
right,
dig in
and then
fix the problem?
it just kept going kind of terribly. So then we get off of this really intense, camera angles. We are trying some new types of filmography here.
Lots of
With like
close-ups.
lips and eyes, where it was like, ooh, we're intense and buttons flashing. It was intense. But then they finish the self-destruct sequence. They call his bluff cool, you know what I mean? That I love it. But then he literally does another shipwide announcement. Self-destruct is canceled. Go back to what you were doing. We were under self-destruct. Did you tell them that? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't announce that.
The computer announced it.
To the ship?
The ship-wide announcement of 30 seconds.
But he literally was just like,
But
get back to normal. Like, don't worry about it.
Your point is still like, hey, I almost blew the ship up, but hey, I didn't. So carry on.
I mean,
on that note, though, was Kirk bluffing?
No, because I think it's at least my opinion based on future series. They're not allowed to let these ships get into enemy hands. They are too destructive in and of themselves that it's their responsibility to ensure that the amount of damage that can happen if one of these ships is taken over by somebody else is more than the damage to the crew on it right now. So I believe that's part of their requirement, but that's my future knowledge imparting that, not necessarily current.
Guess I never got the impression that he was bluffing. I struggled more with the fact that, what was it? They couldn't cancel it once it got within 5 seconds, but they were certainly within 5 seconds before he finished the command canceling it. Like he started it at 6 seconds.
That could have been a bluff, though.
That fair.
That part could be the bluff.
I'll give you that. That could have been. And I haven't seen that anywhere else, right? I think there are other instances in other shows where they let it get all the way down to 1 second and then they cancel it. And they never talk about a 5-second rule, right?
Right.
So I wanted to give them a lot of grief for the fact that like the command to set the self-destruct was code 000 destruct 0 and how stupid that was. And then I remembered that during the Cold War, all the codes on the nuclear warhead stations were something like 0000 because Kennedy didn't want anyone to have to go look for a code if they ever had to launch something. They just needed them to go. So the whole idea that it was turn keys and press numbers was bullshit. All you had to do is turn keys and hit a button 4 times that everyone knew, and you could start a nuclear war with Russia just like that. Like that was just a thing. So it doesn't seem so far-fetched now. Like whatever.
Well, we had another great moment of this high grade Enterprise security squad. They have somebody they have taken prisoner, but he had to go to sick bay, and so they left him there unrestrained, just like, all right, he's good.
No big deal.
He just gets up, walks out. And again, people coming on the ship and they're just like, yep, you basically have free reign of everything. Just stay out of my room. I mean,
that was my other comment I had. Was they literally asked the question, Captain, should I call security? And he goes, Nah, what is security gonna do? Like, so they let these people at the end chase each other around this ship. Who knows if they're gonna hurt another crew member out in the hallway, anything like that. But he literally acknowledges the fact that they're loose in his ship, unstable. Just let him do it.
It was super dumb, but it made me laugh a little bit
And
too.
and then, of course, transporters are never locked down. I mean, come
No,
on, talk
never.
about like a murder weapon. I mean, let's just transport someone into a bulkhead for crying out loud. I mean,
Transporters are the least used weapon in all of Star Trek because you can do so much with them, and
right?
nobody reuses them for that.
Unwritten rule. It's a
Hmm.
horrible way to die. No one wants to die that way.
True, but yeah, just to follow up on my comment earlier, the U.S. Air Force Strategic Air Command worried that in times of need, the codes for the Minuteman ICBM force would not be available, so it decided to set the codes to 00000000 in all missile launch control centers. Blair said the missile launch checklist included an item confirming this combination until 1977. Just
Now,
yeah.
to be fair, if you were trying to break in and do something bad, you'd go in there and just be like, oh yeah, let's try 00000000, and whoever you're with would just be like, no, that's dumb. There's no way.
I mean, clearly you've never seen Doctor Strangelove.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I think we talked about this.
Literally, the plot of the movie is a guy goes crazy and tries to start, like, a guy on an airbase goes nuts and tries to start a nuclear war with Russia. Like, that is the whole plot of the movie. Go watch it. It's a great movie. Stanley Kubrick is a genius. Was a genius? I guess he's dead. He's been dead for a while. Anyway, he was a genius. That's a great movie, and it's the best work Peter Sellers has ever done, ever.
Okay.
He plays 3 different characters in the movie.
All right.
Anyway,
so I did like Scotty's line in this episode. Warp 10. We're going nowhere mighty fast.
that was pretty funny.
Because they were just going in circles.
I did like the obvious obtuseness of this episode was its redeeming factor for me on it, where it's like, no, obviously we're very different.
Yeah.
No.
And then, Spock even goes,
He's black on the right side. I'm black on the left side.
Right. And even Spock goes, you had a common ancestor. You're descended from the same thing. How dare you say that?
Yeah.
And so it does, we talk about this and, we could talk about how genocides work and all this stuff and any kind of anthropology classes you may take. They'll tell you that it starts with a devaluing and separating that way. And it's really interesting how they found just a real, what do you call it when you oversimplify something? What is that phrase when you like to an
Not
extreme?
Just oversimplification.
Well, no, when it's like so extreme though, it seems stupid, but what is that called? Surprised Aaron doesn't know that word off the top of his head.
I'm drawing a blank.
Any rate, extreme oversimplification of the matter. But at the end of the day, if you break it down, that is exactly what it is. And so I'm curious how many people, when they listen to this, were offended by it. We're like, oh, I don't think that way. But then the only reason you're offended by it is if you actually did think that way. Does that make sense? And I'm curious on how that works. I mean, the closest show I can think of that does that today, that outright tries to offend people, to like be very obvious of we're not mincing words on this. It's not the storyline plot necessarily. It's Doctor Who, in my opinion, does that a lot, where it's very much like no, this is just what it is. If it bothers you, why are you being offended? You should consider why you're being offended by this kind of thing. So I do find though that the blatant smack over the head with the, well, no, you're being stupid, and just how confused everyone else was by it. Not the, well, that's wrong. They didn't say that's wrong. They just looked at him like, are you crazy right now? Like, you're so crazy.
So One of the things that I thought was really interesting, and I was trying to see if I could find some, idea of what it was, what the reception of this episode was when it came out, and my quick Google search failed, so I had to dig into that more. But I happened to be, scrolling through Reddit one night, and somebody asked the question, you know, what are your favorite episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise? And it turns out it was somebody who hosts another Star Trek podcast whose name I forget. I'm not listening to any other podcasts because I don't want it to kind of bleed over and like steal their thoughts for mine inadvertently. But it was interesting to me of the, hundreds of comments on this thread, and scrolling through, and there were the usual things that you would expect. Trouble with Tribbles, City on the Edge of Forever, like, of the episodes that we've watched so far, like a bunch of the ones that we would have ranked very high, were on that list. This episode came up almost as much, if not more, than the City on the Edge of Forever, in terms of an episode that was really, really well received. And then as I look at the Wikipedia article for it, in 2010, Sci-Fi Now ranked this as the 9th best original series episode. 2016, the Hollywood Reporter rated it the 11th best episode in all of the Star Trek franchise.
But when is that ranking taking place? Like, yes, we'll rank it that way now, but how did they rank it then?
That was
what
in
I want to know.
2016. So that was everything through before the new Trek era. So everything through the end of Enterprise.
I know, but I want to know like what people thought of it.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to find that.
We probably won't have that because you didn't have the ability at the time to have so many people review everything and
I don't know
get it
if
out
newspapers ever did like reviews of, like, I don't know if that was a thing, right? That's the only thing I can think of is, that would be kind of the mass media of the time. That would be available.
It would be fun to go back around the water cooler as people are talking about this week's episode of Star Trek and see what they thought of this one.
And that's I guess that's my point is I don't know the popular reception. I'm just saying the three of us are pretty critical about this, and I think our rankings would push it way out of our top 10 for even the original series. And I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 different publications that put it near the top of the best episodes of the original series, if not the entire franchise, which I think is just really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying we're wrong. Like we feel how we feel about it, right?
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting that so many people, it resonated with so many people more than it resonated with us.
Well, it's got a message, again, that we've talked about, that it's a very good message. Don't hate. I mean, you can't really argue with it, but then we are taking a critical approach to it, saying, yeah, the message is good, but there's something lacking.
Here's an interesting one. So it says in 2017, Screen Rant ranked Let That Be Your Last Battlefield the seventh most optimistic episode of Star Trek television, pointing out the crew's reaction at the end. I don't know if
I can see that, because they're basically taking it not as a view of this is an episode from 1969, but from an episode taking place in 2269. You're looking at it through a completely different lens. I mean, they look at the 20th century and refer to it basically as that primitive time back when we were stupid and hated each other. And they don't ever, I think, address, okay, how did we get from there to here?
Yep.
But they don't have to. That's not necessarily what they have to do. They're just showing, hey, you can do this, you can get past it. Um, and yeah, so it is a very positive episode in that regard, but like we said, just has that bleak ending
I
for
think it also has like a sense of pride for those people too. So
yeah,
people involved with it. For us, it's different, right? We don't, I mean, not to say things are perfectly cured right now. I'm not trying to say that. Don't come at me. But I am saying it's more obvious to us now than it was then, I should say. And so I think as to who the cast now or when they were doing that interview, I'm sure we're looking back and like, yeah, we're proud of ourselves. We did this. Whether or not they realized how significant or substantial that was at the time, we can't speak to that. But yeah, they've got pride in that they were able to do those things and they were able to call it out like that. And so that's probably a good reason why it resonates with them. It's not a it's a story that still holds value today. It's not a Western that we're trying to figure out. You know what I mean?
And I am extremely happy that it's not another one of those stupid period piece episodes that we've seen so many of. Like,
right.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Maybe that's worth an extra point just because of that. Still not changing my rating, but
No,
thank God.
I yeah, I it's funny. I think we are all pretty much in agreement on this one. Yeah, good message. Just something's not just
Yeah.
I can't even put my finger on it, but I wish I could call this a great episode. It just yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I
And then I
mean,
think through, so I had said earlier, like trying to think if things are so direct today, and I mean, not even every episode of Star Trek is this direct, but I, the one thing I keep thinking of is there was a movie that came out a year or two ago, and I was kind of looking forward to it. It was called Don't Look Up, I think.
heard of it, never
And
seen it.
and that was another one. It was super heavy-handed in the message. And
Is
I
that a
think
Jordan Peele movie?
no,
Okay.
um, no, but it was, I think, Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was the story of it was about, I believe, an asteroid or a comet coming and was going to strike the
Oh,
Earth, and they were trying
yes,
to
I did
fight
watch
against
that.
it. I
I was
watched
very
like half of
excited.
it, and I think I fell asleep during it and then just never went back to revisit it because I was like, all right,
It
the
was not
it
well
was so
written.
heavy-handed, and just I didn't care for how direct the message was.
Well,
It
I
was
mean, it
off-putting.
was, but I think
Um,
so. I watched the whole thing.
but by design. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I watched it on the treadmill. So if I fell asleep, that would have ended poorly for me. Um, but it was it is one of those movies, and I get that that can be a very divisive thing because
mhm,
some people just hate it when things are super heavy-handed. It was almost satirical in its heavy-handedness. Like
yeah,
they were trying to be so incredibly overt that it was obnoxious
yep,
in how overt they were. It's kind of like some of the jokes they do on Family Guy.
mhm,
You hit the joke and it's funny, and then you hit it again and it's still kind of funny, and you hit it a third time and you go, well, why are we doing this again? And they just keep like hitting it
yep,
until it becomes unfunny, and then all of a sudden it becomes funny again. Like
yeah,
that's I think what they were trying to go for to a certain extent. And
yeah,
it depends on your audience. There are a lot of people that don't like Family Guy either, right? That just wouldn't
right,
think that was funny at all.
yeah,
So, but that was their goal, right? It was
We
just,
have movies
yeah,
like that though. Elysium is the same concept. That
yeah,
was Matt Damon. We've got, same kind of concept. It's, wealth disparities and differences in healthcare and it was very heavy-handed on that one as well. So it's and then you got, green movements nowadays, very heavy-handed with some of their stuff, like well, pretty much any of M. Night Shyamalan's movies for that matter, with his opinions on here or that. But what was the one where the trees attacked?
The
The
Happening.
the happening. Yeah. Nature fights
God, that
back.
movie was terrible. But yeah,
well, he
so
hasn't done anything
I
really
was
far enough.
thinking
So,
through like some of the more, we'll say, use a kinder word of direct versus heavy-handed, but the more direct movies, I feel like a lot of times they're well received by people who like the message, and then if you're not in the super in favor of whatever message camp, then it's probably not very well received.
Right. And you know what? That's okay.
That makes this episode, I think, if we want to say that people are going to receive it similarly, it makes this a remarkable episode to produce and air in 1969.
I mean, it takes some cojones to decide that this is what we're going to do in that era, right?
So I don't really have much else on this one. If you guys do.
I had a couple of quotes. I had one random reference that I don't think anyone's going to get, and I don't think I would have gotten it except for I had seen a different piece of trivia around it like a week before. So I think two quotes, where is it that I liked that were kind of interesting to me. At one point, I think it was Loki that says, "What is justice? I shall wait to see it dispensed."
Which I wrote that down too.
Kind of a cool quote. Followed by later in the episode, change is the essential process of all existence. Which, you know, the whole idea that we have to adapt and change as the conditions change. My little bit of like random things is let me ask you two a question. When someone intentionally damages something, what do we call that? What's the word for that? Starts with an S. Yep. Especially if it's damaged in such a way that it malfunctions or causes destruction.
Sabotage.
Sabotage. How does William Shatner say sabotage? He said it in this episode.
Did he say sabotage?
Yeah, he says sabotage. And there's a really funny clip that you can find on the Google somewhere of he was recording some dialogue for like a Star Trek game or something like that, and he said sabotage, and the sound guy came on and corrected him to say sabotage, and he kind of goes on a little rant about you say sabotage, I say sabotage, and he's famous for that line.
Given this segue, do you remember the song that was playing in the 2009 Star Trek movie when he was riding the motorcycle as a kid?
I sure do. Sabotage by Beastie Boys?
Yeah.
That was intentional, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that all stems from the William Shatner sabotage thing. Like, that is a intentional, really subtle reference.
That's amazing.
And it's not just in the original the 2009 Star Trek movie. It is also in Star Trek Beyond. They played different parts of the song.
Nice.
So.
Hold on one sec. I hear one of the kids.
Yeah, no worries.
There were some fun words, though, in this one.
Like what?
Not good phrases, but like we called it a space vehicle right off the bat. Ooh. Did you catch that? It's not a shuttlecraft.
As good as when they call it the Spaceship Enterprise.
It's the space vehicle.
This rubs me wrong every time they say the Spaceship Enterprise.
The Spaceship Enterprise. But he did actually say the United Federation of Planets. We said that, and he corrected someone on that one.
Yeah. So was that this one? I knew it was one of the three, and I couldn't remember.
He's like, you're from the United Confederacy or something like that of planets, or Fed something. And he's like, Federation of Planets. Oh, yeah. Cool. Or starships. And he's like, planets or something. But no, definitely they solidified as Starfleet. And then I have a question for you on this one. So they mentioned Romulans. Now, I have missed a few episodes in this season. Have we already met the Romulans?
Several times.
Okay. Do we know they had cloaking stuff?
Yep.
Okay. So we did mention the Romulans, and like, are they cloaked?
Way back in Balance of Terror.
Oh, okay. Couldn't remember.
Now it's season 1, I believe.
Been a long time.
It has.
Getting from there to here.
Oh, please.
It's been a long time. But our time is finally here. Deep cut.
Deep cut.
But here's the trivia for that, though. That whole Romulan cloak thing is because they had no budget to show the ship, so they just wrote. That's our
Hey,
impressive technology that
it you know, it's, and we've talked about it before, but it's just like the transporter thing was, well, we can't land the ship every episode. Like that's too expensive. So let's just make them teleport from one place to another. That's way cheaper.
Yep. Why not? It's
Yeah,
fine. It's fine.
and
It's fine.
and here we are now trying to like figure out how to transport people and how to, build a cloaking device and do warp
Yep.
speed and all these other things, right?
Yep. Everyone's getting called back to the office. Everyone wants a transporter now.
Hey, honestly, that'd be the greatest invention ever. I've said that for years, that I could literally transport to wherever I need to be anywhere in the world. Like, oh, I need to go meet with someone at the headquarters in Michigan today. I'll just jump in the transporter and beam over there and have my meetings and beam back home again. Like, why
Aaron
not?
and I have talked about this a while ago, and what we determined was it's not going to be, or our thoughts are, it's not going to be as much as you break down all your molecules and do that. It'll be more of that you have an avatar that picks up and starts moving around from you somewhere else.
That's
that
probably
you-
more realistic. Yeah.
So we'll be laying down in some sort of a, Ready Player One style chair
Yep.
and go that route.
Wearing our Apple
Isn't
Vision Pros for $3,500.
Uh-huh.
isn't that
Yeah.
basically the story behind Surrogates? Bruce Willis
Probably.
movie, I think.
But they use their circuits for everything. They never leave their houses versus like designated
Yeah, I
things, I
mean,
guess.
certainly the
yes.
Avatar reference makes a lot of sense, right? Of, they're going to get in their little pods and then they're going to connect to these bodies that run around and go do things. So, all right. I didn't have anything else.
I'm good.
All right, let's
So-
go on to an even more fun episode.
Speaking of heavy-handed episodes, the Mark of Gideon. Yeah. My first note from after the episode was over was not sure what the message of this episode was, but it felt very heavy-handed.
Oh, I got the
Yeah.
message.
Yeah, I'd love to know what it is because I'm not sure I got the message either. So,
But didn't it feel like an incredibly heavy-handed episode? But it was just
I
like, we're just gonna hit you with this hand
there were
and this
things that I
hand.
think it was, but I don't know that
Yeah.
if that's what it was or if that's what I was trying to make it be. So I'm curious to hear what Abbie has to say on
Well,
this.
I should say this. My notes are this. I'm watching this episode. I'm, doing other things in the foreground. And then we get all the way through it, and there's so many people. My first thought was it's like a cage repeat episode where we're kind of like trapped and being monitored because we saw them on the monitor. So I wrote that down. I was like, are they in like a zoo where they're being monitored for entertainment? What's going on? And then I wrote down, oh, cool. It's a sex education episode. Cool.
Okay, so I'm not far off because so my thought partway through was, so this is like in like this world is like an anti-abortion, anti-birth control superpopulation planet, and so the message is somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think
So-
I'm far off from you, but
Yeah, I wrote in my notes. I
I
was like, "Oh my God, I made it halfway through this episode. They slow rolled me with a sex purity episode." I don't know. It
see,
was weird.
yeah,
I didn't even take that approach necessarily on it. There were the comments about basically Kirk proposing they use birth control. And they were
which
going
they
all
couldn't because the organs regenerate
and
themselves.
and they were going all God, what was the movie? They were going all the meaning of life, that every sperm is sacred. And so I did make a note how you said it's kind of like the cage. I had a note, we were watching people watch people on TV.
Also,
'cause
it's just creepy that they're all walking around
we've-
just stumbling into
We've
each
done
other.
that in a few episodes,
There's
but
nowhere else to go. They're like cattle.
partway through watching this, I was becoming less and less interested in the episode and more interested in the context in which this episode occurred. So I started looking. What was the population of Earth in 1969? 3.6 billion. And what was were they concerned with overpopulation? In 1968, there was a very well um, distributed book called The Population Bomb, which was basically saying we are in grave danger of overpopulating the earth, worldwide famines, and everyone's going to die. So this is coming a year after probably really being produced and written the same time this book, The Population Bomb, is coming out, which is this dire warning of that, of
That's a good point. Yeah.
overpopulation and all these things happening. It offered solutions to prevent this, like forced sterilization, involuntary sterilants put in the water. Um, and things that apparently they said, oh yeah, these weren't really pursued because the science wasn't there yet. Not any ethical issues, but that was something that was a big concern there in the late 1960s was overpopulation. Now, 50 years later, it's a little kind of difficult to accept, seeing as we now have 5 billion more people on the planet, and people are still having some of those same concerns like, oh, if we add too many more people, there's going to be worldwide famines, everyone's going to starve, and everyone's going to die, and all of that. So it was very heavy-handed, I thought, in saying overpopulation is bad. And
Yeah.
now,
And
but but then it seemed like both sides we're granting that overpopulation is bad and too much is an existential threat. But the Gideons were then saying, okay, we need to figure out how to kill our people. And Kirk was just like, stop making new people. Um, and yeah, it was just a. I initially put this as a 5. I think I'm talking myself into a 4. I think it was just a bad episode.
if it makes you feel any better, I put it as a 4. Like I just
Yeah.
it was not good. Whatever the message is crappy. I'll buy the overpopulation thing because I mean that really persisted for decades afterwards, right? I mean, I even
Yeah.
remember growing up in the talk about overpopulation and all of these things. And then, we all also grew up in the era of, hearing about
China.
China and their
Hmm.
overpopulation and, the one child per family thing, which then led to a whole cultural thing of like they value males over females. So, if you didn't have a girl, then that was, potentially life-threatening for her, right? Or that, they had also orphanages just filled with girls that parents gave up because having a boy was more valuable and that's what they wanted to continue on the family line and like all these I think catastrophic decisions that were made as a result of this fear of overpopulation. So you're probably spot on there.
Yeah. I feel like the episode was caught up in what my perception of it today would be a bunch of fear mongering. I mean, and alarmism over something that, uh, as far as I can tell, was overblown. I mean, all of those predictions that they had were wrong. So, and this being not having read the book, but saying, okay, reading some just summaries of it in Wikipedia. So take that for what it is. But if there was alarmism at the time about overpopulation, and then this episode is, in my opinion,
Yep.
basically about overpopulation and how that can be handled. I think it's again interesting to see that it's tackling a prevalent issue of the day and showing it, but it just felt like something was lacking in the episode, and maybe it was that they were both in a way arguing the same point, and both sides, the Gideons and Kirk, were basically saying, yeah, this is bad, but then they just had different solutions to it. And um, Yeah, I guess it felt a bit Chicken Little. And just the idea like the sky is falling, it's terrible, and everything is bad, and everyone's gonna die. Oh, that didn't happen? Well, now it's really getting bad. So I see
Right.
that kind of progression going. So I'm extrapolating beyond the episode and beyond that time to things I see today. But yeah, that's part of why I just think the episode didn't work. Yeah, and like I said, my initial reaction was calling it mediocre, gave it a 5, and I think I talked myself into saying this is just a bad episode.
So the other thing too that really kind of bugged me about this is, and to an extent I get it, like it's fine, but I can only suspend disbelief to a certain point. And this is yet another planet that they stumble on that's named after some Earth reference, in this case, Gideon from, the Christian faith, right? Like, oh, cool. Like another biblical planet named after a biblical reference. Sweet. Like, there are an awful lot of these out here that they've never seen before that magically have people that look human and magically call themselves something that comes from, Earth history and things like that. And I understand from like a writer's perspective and, make something that's kind of familiar to people and yada, yada, yada. But also after a while, it's kind of like our Western episodes and things like that. It's like, really, again,
Yeah,
call it the Fluffenwaffen or something, like make something up.
yeah,
Like, it's, yeah. Oh, it just bugs
yeah.
me.
I thought there were a few interesting lines in it in the episode. Um, was it Spock that said the purpose of diplomacy is to prolong a crisis? And there were other lines about diplomats and bureaucrats may function differently, but achieve the same results. And yeah, it
I
was
like
just
McCoy just jabbing Spock in the middle of that, and looking at him and saying, "And just when I thought you might find a whole new career as a diplomat, Mr. Spock." Uh, like that was pretty funny.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, it felt weird that their solution to overpopulation wasn't like, hey, let's try to expand our reach, expand where we are. And granted, that may just be that's probably just moving the goalposts
mhm.
and assuming, okay, well, if we expand there, we'll eventually take over and expand and take over everything, and we'll use all the resources in the galaxy and then the universe, and then everyone's gonna die.
Yep,
But at the same time, it's
it take
like,
a very long time.
right. But so yeah, it just the idea that they're saying, and we're grateful to you for her illness, so his daughter will die as a means of solving an overpopulation crisis. It just something doesn't sit right about that. And then was just it seems like at the end, I didn't even write down exactly what happened at the end, and I was probably already writing down my notes on my thoughts of how I didn't like the episode. But then they've got it again, and they're just like, all right, she's got the disease now, but she's not dying for whatever reason, but she's still a carrier, so she's going to be able to spread it and wipe out all your people. I had Warp Factor 2. I mean,
I did totally tune
let's
out
get
by
the
the
hell
end
out
of
of
it.
here.
The only thing I wrote down towards the end was Spock saying, "Please do not interfere. I already have one problem to solve with the upper echelons," which I thought was very funny. But that was almost the last thing I wrote, and I think I blanked on the rest of the episode. Like it was so bad. Oh, that I didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
Abbie, what did you give this one?
I nothinged it. I wasn't offended by it. I thought it was kind of stupid. So I'm sticking with my solid 5 because I just nothinged it. I think it led us on a little bit of a wild goose chase because we didn't know what was going on until the last 5 minutes of the episode. So you really were just kind of going, what's happening? What's going on? We didn't have our normal formulaic, here's our problem, here's how we're going to solve it, here's our solution. It was a, we're just super confused, and oh, by the way, they've just been lying to us this whole time. Just kidding. And there's no resolution either.
Yeah.
Here's the
And
thing.
he makes
Kirk's
out with
missing.
this chick too. Bothers me.
Kirk's missing, and now there's some disembodied heads like on the view screen. And then weird people in sperm costumes walking around bumping into each other.
I'm okay with the idea that you spend an entire episode confused until the last 5 minutes and everything comes together. If that payoff is worth how we got there.
And if you can look back and say, I get it.
Yeah, like I did. This is another one of those where I, in the middle of it, my notes say, what is going on? Like, what is happening here? And I just didn't.
And I feel like this one is an episode where somebody with the show was like, we're on our way out. I got something to say, and by God, I'm going to say it. And they wanted to say overpopulation is bad. Get yourselves on some birth control.
Let's so there's the
paid for by the Federation.
There's the heavy-handedness of let that be your last battlefield.
Yep.
Which, okay, get it, great, good message, fine. Like I can live with that. And then there's the heavy-handedness of the Mark of Gideon, where I go, what are you smoking when you decide to go down this path? And I struggle to get around that. So that being said, new game. I think we need to take a drink every time Abbie says I nothinged an episode. Cheers.
So apparently, looking at a little bit of trivia.
I feel like I should get credit here when I nothing an episode.
I know,
because I spent most of the second season trashing this episode. I spent a good part of, trashing second season, which kind of sucked growing up around it. I didn't think I dislike it as much as I've been disliking this series because I'd never really paid attention to it deliberately from an analysis perspective. So if I say I nothing it, that's high praise considering most of these episodes are like highly, as Scotty says, problematical.
Yeah, I'm giving.
So you're just like, this one, since most of them are in the negative territory, this one's a solid 0. So you nothing it. Yeah.
I wasn't offended by it. I'm good.
Yeah.
So what did you give it a 5? Is that what you said?
Right.
Okay. That's fair. I just want to make
sure you liked it better than both of us. So I'm looking at a little bit of trivia here, and it's a little bit of what I was saying. The episode was written by Stanley Adams, who was guest starred as Cyrano Jones in The Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh.
Adams was concerned over the issue of overpopulation, and during production of Tribbles mentioned to Gene Roddenberry that it would be an interesting social topic for the series to address. But like us, he was disappointed by the episode's final results.
Yeah, missed it.
So, yeah. So it was like, here's something I think is important. Let's make an episode about it. And even the guy that wanted to make the episode about it is just like, okay, that's not what I meant.
I'm okay with a plot line talking about the consequences of overpopulation.
Yeah.
I think, if that were something to actually happen, there would be significant consequences. That would be interesting to explore. I don't think this episode hit on any of that stuff.
But if there's a call to action in this episode and it's either get birth control or find a way to infect the old people so they die, that's a troubling call to action. So I think that's a lot of where the episode loses me.
I would love to know what the message was that Adams was trying to, like, how would he have improved this? That's great. He wanted to do a story about overpopulation. What methods did he want to use to convey that message?
Yeah.
I'd love to.
That would be interesting. That's really about all I've got on this episode. I did not care for it. Kudos to tackling what some felt were a prevalent issue at the time, and I mean that's something I think we've seen time and time again in the series where they tackle something that maybe applies to that time, maybe as a timeless thought.
I
Yes,
do have
Nate.
one more thought.
Yeah.
And I was ready to walk away from this, and then I looked at my notes and saw a bullet point in there that set me off down a mental path that pissed me off all over again. How in the hell did they have an exact replica of the Enterprise on their planet that Kirk could walk through and was so convincing he thought he was still on the Enterprise and nobody else was?
Well, yeah, and I thought about that too. I hadn't really thought, how did they have this exact replica? But wow, for a world that is so overpopulated that people are literally outside bumping into one another, they had a good amount of space to build a replica starship.
Didn't they though? And also, because now I'm just pissed all over again, because I just remembered something from earlier in the episode, which was oh shit, I lost it. Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, so part of they were going there because the people of planet Gideon wanted to join the Federation. That was the whole premise for them going to this planet. They had previously rejected every delegation. They finally decided on a delegation of one, which was Kirk. But then they make a big deal of talking about the fact that the Gideons are isolationists. They don't want any interaction with the outside world. They don't want people on their planet. They don't want to go to other planets. They don't want to talk to anyone. They want to join the Federation, but they don't want to do any of the things that other member planets of the Federation do. And that also bothered me a little bit. Like, that actually could be your ticket out of this, right? You join the Federation and now you have the ability for people to immigrate to other places and
Hmm.
spread out, and go to places where there isn't overpopulation issues. But we don't want to do that. We're isolationists. We want to just
Yeah.
do our thing. That
But then,
this place.
so devil's advocate to that point, looking at it with the criticism we've levied against this episode today, I feel like if they had done something like that and gone the, hey, we can spread out approach, I would probably be saying like, oh, they're really concerned about this, but then they're just moving the goalposts.
And I'm not
Um,
even saying that. I'm saying get rid of the whole we want to
but
join the Federation thing. They
yeah,
stumbled upon the planet in a routine survey.
right.
And like you could change the first 5 minutes and it would be slightly more believable.
I I agree.
We still have the problem with the replica of the Enterprise and all that, but at least it removes that data point that bugs me a lot.
Yeah. Did they say how old that society was? I mean, their people were, they were saying what, thousands or
Immortal.
tens of thousands of years
Yeah.
old
I
at
don't
the
I don't
very
know that
least.
if they gave an exact date, I don't know that I caught it. I certainly didn't write it down, but the
So I
people
mean,
were
maybe they were just able to capture something and then replicate it very quickly by being much more advanced and older than our young primitive civilization.
100% possible. But they did a terrible job of talking about that. So
Agreed.
anyway, I'll
This
stop
episode
now. I'll stop
this
looking
episode sucked. It
before
was
I find something else that made me mad that I have to talk about. I mean, you're going to switch
well,
to the next one, so I don't see it anymore. Okay.
yeah. Yep. Now we are on to episode 17 of season 3, That Which Survives. So this is one that I felt like I feel like I've said this about so many episodes. Started stronger than it finished. Like it started out, I thought really strong. I felt we had potential to have a great episode here. And it had a lot of elements that the great episodes do have. But somewhere along the way, it just plummeted. And in the end, it my last note I wrote in my kind of recap for myself, there's high tension, had a lot going for it, fell a bit flat. I gave this one a 5 as well. Or I
So
say
Aaron,
as
you
well
are like in
because
lockstep
I'd given the last one a 5 and I talked myself down to a 4, but yes, I gave this one a 5. I thought it was just mediocre. And I felt early on this could have been a great episode because it had so much going for it. And then I don't even know what it was. It just went flat.
I don't think this has ever happened to us in the year we've been doing this podcast where you and I have watched 3 episodes and each one of us
Completely
gave the
agreed.
exact same uh, rating because I also gave it a 5. And I was very intrigued in the beginning. And by the end, I went, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is so goddamn dumb.
Yeah, I there were some things this was an episode that I felt struggled a bit, like, how do I describe this? When I think of when series kind of reach near their end, a lot of times it feels like the characters become almost a caricature of themselves. I think of Friends. And by the end of that, Monica is a complete caricature of Monica from the beginning of this series. All of the characters are, but that's the
Mhm.
one that kind of sticks out to me. And this one, I wrote at one point, Spock seems a bit extra Spock. Where they took the Spock, that's illogical, and all of
That's a
those
great
things,
one.
and they just went beyond
I
with
hadn't
that.
thought
So
about that,
he was
but he bugged the shit out
extra
of me
Spock.
throughout this episode.
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was kind of funny. It was like, oh yeah, Spock is being Spock,
Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, Spock's really being Spock,
I
and
mean,
then it just did. Once I had that thought in my mind too, I probably just continued down that path, but it just did not end. Eh,
towards the beginning of the episode, after the earthquake or whatever on the planet that also shook the ship by
yeah.
some weird thing, he goes, the occipital area of my head seemed to have impacted with that chair.
Oh,
I was
I
like,
hate
oh
that
my
line.
God.
I
I
What the
hated
hell
that
just
I did
happened?
line.
laugh I
I
did
laughed
laugh at
too, but
that,
it didn't make any sense.
but I felt like he was so Spock that he almost got illogical eh, throughout the episode, where he was just so unwilling to see anything and was like, no, that's feeling, that's bad. It was like a caricature of what it was Spock acting like somebody who's never watched the show might think Spock would act.
Yes.
And yeah, so and then right after I wrote that note, Spock seems a bit extra Spock, and somebody or the helmswoman says 11 and a half hours, and he says 11.337, be more precise. So I had to rewind, make sure I got exactly what that number was, and calculate it out. What is 0.337? So 11.337 hours is 11 hours, 20 minutes, 13.2 seconds. That seems like unreasonable precision when you're estimating when you'll arrive somewhere, but that's the precision Spock is looking for. Later on, he says 10 minutes, 19 seconds, and I wrote Spock needs to work on his precision.
Not enough sig digs for that one, right?
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, that's that. Yeah. Now, if they hadn't picked something that ended up coming out to 13.2 seconds, maybe I wouldn't have taken such a shitty approach to it. But I was just like, okay, yeah, it just was off-putting by the end.
That being said, I laughed very, very hard early on in the episode when Kirk looks at Sulu and says, if I wanted a Russian history lesson, I'd have brought Mr. Chekhov. I about died. Like I
Yeah.
almost had to pause the episode so I didn't miss anything because what a great callback to all the random like Russian history facts that Chekhov would throw in. And like, nope,
Now,
here's Sulu.
now, do you know the event that Sulu is talking about?
I I don't think so. You're right, Abbie.
Oh, the kid just took out my kneecap. Oh.
The kitten's like a pound and a half. How did that happen?
She's
And
got
and
nails.
there's the final little quote at the end of the episode.
Yeah. The kitten just took
Oh,
out
the kitten just took out my kneecap.
Oh my God. Two claws, one kneecap that he just hung there.
Um,
Oh,
but yeah, I wrote that down too. I did laugh out loud. If I wanted a Russian history lesson, I thought that was great. But yes, he was talking about the Tunguska event where like a meteor came in and basically exploded over this region in Siberia, well, the Tunguska region, and had there been people around there would have been devastating and like wiped out this massive area of forest. But yeah, it comes up in some of the like eldritch horror type games.
Okay.
But it was a real
I don't
event.
know my Russian history, so that one is that's foreign to me. So
That's more the crazy shit that hits the earth from space history. Just happened to impact Russia.
it's fair.
But
I don't need that
yeah,
either.
I was like,
So
I've heard of that event. Um, yeah, I did like that Spock acknowledged inconsistencies in things where he was like, yes, this doesn't make sense. But his approach wasn't that this doesn't make sense because it's doesn't make sense. It was this doesn't make sense because we just don't understand it. And that fit very well with one of my favorite books that I've read called The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch, where he says basically every problem is soluble, and if we don't have the solution, it's a matter of lack of knowledge. So I thought that was really how Spock was approaching things before he went all like extra Spock. But yeah, I thought it was just cool to see him saying, yes, there are inconsistencies here. These things don't make sense, but not then attributing that to being a problem that is insoluble, but that it's just a knowledge issue that we just because we don't know the solution doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
it's an interesting take on things. I agree with that, right?
Yeah.
There's a limit to human knowledge as it
Yep.
stands today. There's
Now,
a Neil
in
deGrasse
that,
Tyson interview where he talks a lot about that too, of like the limits of human knowledge, and we can only understand so much before something else has to happen. So
see, and I think that that book that I've read says doesn't say so much that there's a limit to human knowledge. It may say that there's a limit to what we currently know. But if it is knowable, just because we don't know it yet doesn't mean that it's unknowable.
yep.
So if it's knowable, there's a way to get there, even if we don't know that yet. And that's kind of what I felt was that message at that point. So I think was it last week or the week before we were talking about the the issues where I think it was last week we were talking about how some of these episodes I felt were suffering because they were like, who do people like? Kirk, Spock, and Bones. So
Hmm.
let's do episodes with just those three. So this episode was very much the ensemble. They weren't all
Yep.
together, but
But they have
everyone
major
had
parts, right?
everyone had their part. And I thought that was great. And I thought that was a strength of the episode, even if it didn't lift it above a 5 for me. I still noted that like everyone except Chekhov, I don't think Chekhov was in the episode other than being called out by Kirk.
Yep.
Um, but I thought it was a very good ensemble episode, even
Hmm.
though there were other parts that just didn't work for me. I I felt like I think what didn't work for me on this one is that it got too repetitive. I felt like this episode would have been perfect in the streaming world, where this episode could have been 14 minutes shorter. They could have
Hmm.
told the story they wanted to tell, taken out a few extra steps, and gotten to the same end point and been better. I think it just in the second half, especially, it just dragged. It was like, okay, well, now they're going after Sulu. She needs to get Sulu. Then she needs to get Kirk. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
but we've already seen this scene. We've already watched this scene. So what's new here? Nothing. And I felt that might be why this episode kind of dragged a bit for me and brought it down some, is that the constraints that they were dealing with, they had their breaks, their advertisers, their 1 hour that they had to fill with commercials, where in a streaming world, this could have been a 36-minute episode, hit all the points it needed to, and have a nice day. But yeah, I wanted to like this episode more than I did. And early on, I thought we had I was watching a
Yeah.
great episode, one of the better episodes of season 3. And then it just
I think
kind of, it didn't keep pace and just dropped off pretty significantly by the end of it.
Abbie, what do you think?
Maybe it's because I was watching them so quickly one after another. This one didn't bother me as much as it bothered you guys. Mainly, I know didn't have the strongest ending, but it had a flow for Star Trek for me. So we had something that happened at the beginning, didn't make sense. We had a problem we're trying to solve, and now we're trying to figure it out. And they didn't know what to do. They didn't know why this person was killing people. They didn't know how. They started to figure out how it worked, and it was following that normal formulaic thing of it. And they did do as much as they could to try to prevent her from killing each other. Like, hey, step in front, that kind of thing. So it didn't bother me as much. And I almost feel like I've seen this episode in another series before where it's a computer doesn't know when to shut itself down. And so it doesn't make sense because it doesn't know when to shut itself down. We have this concept in the future where a machine can take on too much of a personality if the person downloading and creating it instills too much of themselves in it. So that for me hit fine. It didn't bother me because I have that background from other episodes, that being an unknown situation. I know it seemed kind of stupid to you guys, like, oh, is a computer killing people? But it's like, well, yeah, but it was a computer killing people. I mean, a highly advanced race that literally is building a planet from scratch does have the capacity to make something to defend its work and its R&D, and that made sense to my brain. So I was okay with it. I thought it was unique. I thought it was kind of a more novel villain. Um, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I gave it a 6.
Okay. Well, you're not that far off from us. I mean,
No. And
2 5 and a
early
6.
on, 20 minutes into the episode, if I had to guess where I was going to put it with the trajectory the episode is on, I would have said I was looking at a 7 or an 8. I thought the start of it was great because it hit all of those, points that are like, this is what makes a great episode. And then it just dropped off for me in the second half. It was too much repetition. I wish they had explored more about the outpost and that it was it was no moon, it was a space station. And
That's no moon.
so I I
That
wish
might be
they
the
had
episode title right there, by the way. That's
I I wish they had explored more of that than the way they went. And like I said, I really did. I was really enjoying the first half of the episode. I thought it was on track to be a good or even great episode. And then it just I think Spock bugged the shit out of me in this one after a while. Early on, it was like, all right, this is good, it's funny, and then it just was too much. But like we were saying with some of those jokes, it just didn't come back around. Um, but
so
yeah,
there's an
I
interesting
felt the pacing of it really dropped off, which struggled at the end. It was kind of like, oh God, when is this going to be over?
so there's an interesting data point as I look at some of the production notes for this, and I'm curious to know the the thoughts from the two of you if this would have helped or hurt, because I'm kind of on the fence. Um, so it says that number one, this is a DC Fontana story. So, again, she's seen as a fixture of Star Trek, right? She wrote a lot of episodes, generally received as very positive episodes. Um, so it says that the original story outline was written by her. In this outline called Survival, Lothario is more brutal, encouraging the crew to turn on each other and fight. And I'm kind of curious, like, would that have helped the story, or would this be another one of those where we've kind of seen this before? Because there's other episodes where, they've been either forced or coerced to fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
But would that have helped this storyline if it was less of this "I'm for you, Captain Kirk" and more of the "Hey, you guys go try and kill each other, like I want you to do this" kind of thing?
I think we had that conversation. I want to say it was just last week, but again, it's come up so many times. I don't even remember if it was last week or previous,
Well, and that's why
where
I'm on the fence, right?
and
We've
I
seen
feel
it
like
so many
I don't
times,
feel
but
like,
would this be better? Like, would that have made for a better story in this case?
I don't think so. My guess is if that had been the case, I would have been saying like we just talked about this.
Okay.
It's like the fourth time that's happened, and a couple times it was okay, but um yeah, I don't think that would have helped it.
Abbie, what do you
Um
think? You like this a little more than us. Would this have helped or hurt you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I nothing it.
Okay. Everyone take a drink.
um so this one, looking at some trivia again, just like with the first episode we watched, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, this was apparently the last episode produced by Robert H. Justman, who was one of the like pioneers of the episode. Nearly 30 years later, he said he was referencing this time and that the show was, quote, now strictly budget driven. My never-ending battle to cut costs without compromising quality had failed. The Star Trek I knew and was proud to be a part of was no more.
So that speaks well for the last, 15 episodes I have to watch, or
Yeah.
slightly less than that.
So yeah, I can feel that in these late episodes in season three. It's just like I can't say, oh yeah, they had to cut the budget here, they had to cut the budget there, but there's just a feeling of it's not what it was. So I was so pleasantly surprised at the start of this episode because it did feel like one of those. I felt like this might be one of those classic Star Trek episodes. And the first half of it, I really thought was there was good mystery. What's going on? They're separated. The Enterprise gets sent 1,000, almost 1,000, because there was a precise number, light years away, and had to make their way back. Um, it got up to, did you recall what warp it reached?
Oh, I wrote it down. It
10.
was
It was
an
over 10.
obnoxious number.
It was over
Uh,
10.
14 is the highest number I wrote down.
I wrote that it got over warp 14. Uh, where was it? I saw something in here that said it got, I believe, over 15.
Okay. I may have stopped writing it down at that point
Yeah.
because it's just beyond obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah. Warp 8.4, 8.8,
Oh, interesting, because I'm just gonna throw a piece of
13.2,
trivia.
14 point. Yeah, it got to 14.1.
Okay. So you might be looking at some of the same trivia, but I noticed this and I didn't write it down and I didn't bother to go look it up until right now. But so the helmsman that takes over for Sulu, a woman named Lieutenant Rada, um, so her character is the first explicitly Hindu character, and the first Enterprise helmswoman to appear in Star Trek. And I kind of caught at one point, I was like, she has a dot on her forehead. And I was like, that's interesting. And I didn't write it down, but like it caught me at one point. I was like, that's really interesting that she has it on her forehead. And that's about as far as that thought made it through my brain, probably because this episode is so bad. But I think it's really interesting that they kind of slid that in there
Hmm.
as just, another, cultural reference to show kind of how far society had made it compared to, the late 60s, where that maybe wouldn't have been as acceptable, right?
Was this the first time, aside from the cage, that they had a woman at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, it says the first Enterprise helmswoman. Now there is number one, but I think
But
at the
that,
time, remember they had never aired the
right.
cage, so yes-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one? Like I
Here,
feel I feel like a 5 is too harsh for this one, but I can't bring it up to
no,
a 6.
I'm looking at the notes at the end, and it talks about like they're talking about Lysira, and like there's all these references of about her, and then like how beautiful she is, like and beautiful, and then the final line is beauty survives. And in certain contexts, I could get behind that. In the context of what they were talking about, I kind of thought that to be a little problematical. Um, I don't know. I don't. I think in some ways we're almost too generous on this episode. I don't think we're
Yeah.
too hard. So
No, and it's really I really liked the first half, and the second half just lost me completely. Um but yeah. Yeah. I
well,
did kind of like the high stakes shell game at the end where there were three of them and
yeah,
they had to just kind of keep shifting around. Um
it
I
was a
thought that
flaw in her
was
system, that's for sure.
yeah.
She could only kill one of them at once, so we'll just keep
Well,
putting a different one.
ironically the
Lining
flaw
up this.
they said the computer was too perfect.
It's not
Did
the way to
Abbie
get
just
my
get caught
attention.
again?
Yes. Tried to climb up and he keeps missing. And he's got murder mittens.
Yeah. I
That face though. God damn it.
And now he's purring. Look at it in the camera and you'll hear it in the microphone.
yeah. Any last thoughts on any of this?
No, I mean,
Are we almost done with this season or this
yeah,
series?
I
I
Yeah.
mean, I am
overstated by
ready
saying
for a
there's
series
15
that I grew
episodes.
up
I think
with.
We have
I
seven
think there are
episodes.
7 episodes left,
Oh
and then we've got
gosh.
the animated series, the Emmy award-winning animated series.
What?
All right. So I will propose this. I will commit. Let's just do all seven and get them done with because
Abbie
we're
wants
not.
out.
Let's just be done with this series because it's kind of killing it for me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like
I do agree. Like,
I am over it. And I want to get back and hopefully, rewatching all these as an adult, the other seasons aren't going to kill it for me. And I will do the opposite of being enjoying Star Trek to being like dang it, this is annoying me. But I vote we get through all the episodes on the next meet. And then for the following, we do a recap episode of some sort. And that is where we do trivia to Aaron and see how much he's learned
okay.
for the first season. I will see about getting something that's not necessarily the not the movie game, but not necessarily the initials game style, but like something along that style and see if you guys can do a couple of rounds of that.
Is this the K-fan thing that
Yeah.
I like so much? Okay.
So I'll see if I can get something together for that. If you guys are
Deal.
interested in doing any kind of that kind of stuff with the
Look,
Yeah.
trivia and like special episode.
So
as I was going through
I'll
those,
watch a bunch of Star Trek when you're at in St. Augustine on Saturday.
There you
So Aaron always gets tracked up that he can give me Harry Potter trivia, and I have deep cuts. And he'll ask me a question, and I'll get the answer right away. And he'll be like, "How did you even know that?" So
She'll answer things like, and I'm just like, I literally just finished listening to that book and I could not tell you their names.
like random characters you've heard one time, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So that's our goal here to see if you guys can buzz in for some Star Trek
Man,
trivia.
I'm good with that because as I was going through that Reddit thread the other night and looking at some of the episode titles, and not surprisingly, a good chunk of them are from the Next Generation. And that really was like, oh my God, I want to get
So
into the Next
I
Generation.
want some Patrick
There are
Stewart
I
back
will
in my
say
life.
my
killer
my
episodes.
speculation, Abbie, for your concerns is that they will not be a factor.
Well, Nate told me that a
From
lot of episodes from Next Gen are problematical, and I just don't remember
Well, the
it.
first season's a train wreck. I can't like if we do the. I have to look at the episode list here. Hang on. Yeah. So if we continue on this path of doing three episodes per podcast episode, that first episode of the next gen, we're gonna have something to talk about.
The very first episode?
The first podcast episode we do of the next gen. If we cover 3 episodes and we
well, because it's a
cover the
two-part,
pilot as
it's
one
a two-part
episode.
premiere.
Yep. Are we gonna count that as 1 or 2?
I think we just do the initial. Let's just do the initial as one, and kind of some backstory on what he knows
No.
about. So I think
So
he
we're gonna do
recaps
it-
what he knows about it a little bit more, what he expects to be different.
Then maybe it's episode
So
podcast.
you know which episode. Now I gotta look this up. What episode is episode 3 that you're so, or
Code
episode
of
4
Honor?
that's
Yeah.
so, oh, is
Go
that
look at the plot for Code of Honor and
isn't
see.
that the Klingon one? Code of Honor?
No.
Hold on.
So,
Oh my God.
well,
Code of Honor is such a
so
terrible
what we're gonna have here is we're gonna watch 7 episodes for next week. Is that right?
Yes.
Either next week or we bump it out.
Yeah. There's a high
week.
likelihood I'm not going to take notes on any of them at that point.
Our notes are nothing anymore because we're saying the same things over and over and over again. It's problematical. It was annoying. We had him kissing someone for no reason. There was no plot at the end. They're caricatures. We're saying the same things over and over.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'm curious if you even remember Code of Honor.
So
Episode 4.
So we'll have 7 episodes. Next week, it would either have to be Tuesday or bump it a week.
Let's bump it a week. I think the likelihood I get through 7 episodes by next Tuesday is low.
All right. So we'll skip next week. We'll bump it out a week, finish those episodes. And then before next gen, we'll have the animated series, which Abbie sounds like she wants nothing to do with. Nate, I'll leave up to you if you want to do it.
I'll watch it. It's fine. I've never seen it before. So
I figure we'll probably knock those out and do those.
And how many movies do we have? Because I always forget about that.
2 more movies. We've
We
got
can do 3 and 4.
We've got number 3 and number 4, and then
that's not that bad.
Next
I like
gen.
both those movies. So
we'll hit 2 weeks from now. We'll hit the end of original series. Then maybe just hit any salient points from any of the episodes that we have.
We could do a quote episode where it's just all the quotes you liked from all the episodes. That might.
And then so we'll do that, and then a wrap up episode. And then during that time, I'll be watching the animated series. And then probably do we want to just do 1 episode on the animated series or kind of gauge it how it'll go? I'm guessing it'll be.
I've literally never watched it, so I don't know what I'm getting into. Maybe it's great.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yep. But I'm guessing we'll do 1 podcast episode, maybe do some extra stuff with that, whatever. Then we'll do the 2 movies and then get into next gen. So we'll be getting into next gen probably about April.
Okay.
Which sounds good to me. And I'm good on that first next gen episode, just doing the pilot or the premiere, those 2 episodes or that 2-parter, and do that as a nice intro to next gen. And I'm sure there will be plenty to talk about.
I mean, I like Encounter at Farpoint. I think it's a really good episode. So,
but I'm just guessing getting into next gen, I probably won't say a whole lot that episode. That'll be you guys talking.
Okay.
Because then you'll be excited to be into next generation. But
I think you're going to have a lot to say about what you expect to see, like what changes you think have taken place and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the tone is different.
After listening to Patrick Stewart's book, Making It So, my guess, Abbie, is that you are going to be very happy to be in next gen. It will hit nostalgia for you that's not going to be connected to the original series and all of the extra stuff with that that I know comes
so
with.
Yes, I do have the unpopular opinion where I never liked Natasha Yar. So
I think
Hopefully.
they never developed that character to a point where she was likable because we're getting way ahead, but she's only in season one and not even for the entire season.
I find her annoying in every episode she's in.
I think all of the characters are annoying in season one by and
Okay.
large.
All right. I'm gonna reserve judgment
I
on it
think
and
she
just see.
could have been a really great character. She chose to leave the show before it got there for probably good reasons. Like, I get it.
Why did
They
she leave?
also were talking about the fact that part of the history there is if she hadn't left, we were probably going to lose Troy.
Why?
Um,
I didn't know
because
this.
they
Why?
wanted to remove a character from the show.
Oh.
And so they saw Troy as being an extraneous character that didn't bring anything to it. So they were going to write her off. And Tasha Yar, that actor choosing to leave, actually saved Marina Sirtis from losing her job, and she kept going. So coin flip, right? I mean, Troy turns out to be a pretty awesome character in that show. So uh, mixed feelings. I think she could have been very good and was very good later.
Oh gosh, this is great. Okay, so first episode, we got to go through and Wikipedia being what Wikipedia is. It could be true or not, but we should go through some of the main characters from the first episodes and break it because they've got some great information on here regarding the characters themselves, their origin of what they're supposed to be, what they were intended to be when the pilot first started, and then how it changed. So, like Natasha Yar was actually supposed to be a friendship, be friends with Wesley Crusher was her designated spot on there. Just she was supposed to be described as treating this boy like the most wonderful person imaginable. Wes is the childhood friend that Tasha never had. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. Treating this boy like the most wonderful person imaginable. Wes is the childhood friend that Tasha never had. So supposed to be more along that side. So it's interesting how it developed.
I'm
So I feel
excited.
like we should go through some of these.
So one bit of not because I can't really contribute to anything next gen, but thinking ahead to wrapping up the original series. Oh, never mind.
If this is true or not, she was originally supposed to be Deanna Troy. They weren't going to be two separate roles.
Yes. They
I did
auditioned for that.
not, yeah. Production staff were not keen on having two actresses in the bridge crew roles with similar physical types and hair colors, so the team took account of the casting of the two roles together. The writers and director's guide described Yar as having a muscular, very feminine body type, being sufficiently athletic to defeat most crew members in martial arts. After Crosby and Marita Sirtis each had auditioned for Troy and Yar, respectively, Gene Roddenberry decided to switch the actresses and cast Crosby as Yar. He felt that Sirtis's appearances better suited that exotic Troy. So Gene Roddenberry cast Sirtis. Huh. It's
That's
crazy.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I'm excited about all of it. Like I watched Encounter at Farpoint not all that long ago, and I forgot honestly how solid of an episode it is for a pilot. Like it's pretty good.
So yeah, my speculation as we're wrapping up the original series when we finish up here, uh, my guess is one, I've overall really enjoyed it. More than I thought I would. I'm still very excited to move on to what comes next. But I feel like the original series will be like the first seasons of other shows that I love, where initially going through, it's like, it's okay. Has some good moments, but then I'll go back and appreciate more. I feel like I could revisit a lot of the original series, and some of it I will like as much or more than I did the first time through, and the other stuff I'll just be like, that's a silly,
It would
stupid
be
episode.
really
Um,
interesting. Not that we should, but it would be
but
really interesting to go and rewatch season one,
I
having
can
finished the entire show.
I've been thinking about some of those season one episodes, and I think I'm approaching that like I guess I'm a Trekkie. Uh moments here.
We
I
win.
think there was a point in season 1 where I was like, God, I'm a Trekkie now because I was pissed about something that happened with the characters, and I was like, that's bullshit. Um, but
True fans
so
just get
so
pissed.
so I'm fully on board with it now, and it's almost been a challenge at times to not just watch ahead because I want to keep watching. And then I'm also just like, I can't go back and start rewatching the original series yet, right?
I
So
mean, you can, but
yeah. So I will someday revisit a lot of these episodes and go back, and I'm sure I will have a different appreciation for them as we get through to more stuff. But yeah, I like our idea of wrapping it up basically in the next one, and we can chat briefly beforehand to see like, hey, are we going to have a ton to talk about, or we just want to kind of rattle these off and move on to just overview and do that in just one episode,
right.
um, and really close out the original series. Like I said, my speculation is we'll just kind of have an overall general feel for the animated series, which is, I believe, 22 or 24 episodes total, um,
It
but all
is
short episodes. So, I mean,
15 plus. It is 21 episodes
okay.
total, and they are half hours instead of
Yeah,
full.
they're all short. So, I'm sure we'll just take 2 weeks to get through that and then do the movies and then yeah, looking forward to next gen. I know so many people, especially people our ages, seem to love it way more than like I don't know anybody our age who's just like I love the original series. That's Star Trek to me. What I think everyone tends to think of is next gen
Next
because
gen really kicks it off.
that's what they grew up with.
Well,
And
and if you
then
think about it, like,
That's what they hate DS9. Same reason.
oh, stop it. You had to get that in there. I will. So I'm going to go back to that same Reddit thread of like the best episode in Star Trek. That was the ask, and I will say that the series that had the most references for the best episodes,
It's
DS9.
just so culty. That's what it is.
Is that what it is? Is it really,
Yeah,
or
it
is
is.
it like?
Culty.
Yeah. Well, you're away from your microphone and nobody can hear you anyway. So,
yeah,
Culty. Sorry, I'm stopping kittens from walking on the computers. Now they have both jumped up.
you're
but
wrong, and I can't
now
prove that to you.
now what we'll have to
I
figure
look
out.
forward to you proving that to me. I look
Look,
forward
the
to
the
making
problem.
it through more than 3 episodes.
The episode that I think gut feel that got the most references as the best episode in that thread was an episode called In the Pale Moonlight. And that episode is an absolute masterpiece. Like unreal episode. And the last scene of that episode, I will challenge anyone who says that that isn't the best 3 minute ending of a Star Trek episode of all time. It will challenge anyone. It's fantastic. And it's going to be like 3
Nate
years
just threw
before
down
we
the
get it.
gauntlet right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll
Just
be
threw
3 years
it
before we
down.
get to it. This is season 6, episode of DS9. We have a ways to go.
we'll get there.
As long as we're getting that original series, I'm okay. We just gotta be.
I just can't wait to
So
convert.
so it is
Uh,
funny now that I've been editing and posting. I'm cutting this last like 15-20 minutes. I'm
Yeah,
cutting
I
out.
figure all this stuff doesn't make it
But
in the search.
but it's funny. It's been funny
Did
listening
you show him
to.
your sweatshirt, by the way?
I
Yeah,
did.
good. I
Showed
love
him the
it.
front
It's
and the
great.
back. Yeah. He said, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Abbie made it in the kitchen, and it's awesome."
He wore it
I
to
I don't know why I
Comic-Con.
didn't initially go to Abby Made It because I know you
Comic-Con. He wore it
all
to
that.
Comic-Con. I'm curious how
Yep.
many more subscribers we'll get from that.
Yeah. I did tell Nate we have had thus far 19 downloads, which not a lot, but
Who would want to
19 is
listen to us?
more 19 is
19
more
people
than
want to
you
listen to
and
us?
me and my mom. So
Wow.
um
I don't know who
but
else.
I
Is
mean
there a way to see
it
who it is or no?
no.
No.
I
But
don't know if somebody
I'm
know.
I'm happy to think that much like the original series, we're getting some of the rough stuff out early, getting better at it, still enjoying it, And yeah, I don't expect to get a whole lot there. But I was gonna say it's funny listening to the initial episodes, and you were just like, this is a lot better than I thought it would be. And then somewhere along the way, both
Me?
of you were saying that.
Yeah.
Both of you were just
Yeah,
like, hey,
I
this is a
have a
lot
very
I had
better
different
started
opinion
I
than
started
I
off
thought.
so optimistically on it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like,
Now,
And I
ew.
I
think I
will
was the
say,
opposite because I don't
I will say,
remember liking it as much as I do now,
yeah.
especially the first
This is you
season
liking
and a
it?
half. Yeah,
Season one, I think each season has gotten progressively less good.
for sure.
My speculation, so I said season one I gave a 7, I think, called it good.
Which,
I thought it was good. I thought it had some great episodes, had some amazing episodes, had some stinkers, but overall it was a very good season.
yep.
Season 2 was a step down. It I mean, that had the episode Catspaw, which was
Terrible. It was
so
not
bad.
supposed to be a Star Trek episode. It was a Halloween episode with
But
Star Trek
but
characters.
now season 3, I think it's on a straight trajectory to a 5, as
True,
a
it's not
whole.
as
I'm
bad
not
as
going
we
to argue
thought.
that point. I think you're spot on.
Yeah, so I think each
At
season
least it
was a
wasn't another
little
Western.
less. Yeah, we got 7 episodes left. Don't
I
say
was
that that's
exactly
not
going
going
to
to
say that.
happen. It might. Um, but so looking at, I try to avoid looking at IMDb because I don't want to be swayed on my ratings or whatever. I don't want to get that anchor point. But it looks like basically there's one really good episode left, and 6 that are somewhere between decent and pretty
Yeah.
bad. I
Abysmal.
mean, like if something is getting in the 5s on IMDb, that's a real not good one. Um,
Stinker.
Code of
yeah.
Honor, episode 3. Next one. 5.1 on IMDb.
Episode
Oof.
4.
I mean they're counting Encounter and Farpoint as 2 separate episodes, and I don't count it as 2 separate episodes.
Gotcha.
It aired the first time as one 2-hour episode. So to me, that's episode 1, which makes Code of Honor episode
I
3.
love that they were able to do that, by the way. That they were able
Yeah.
to get airtime to air a 2-hour pilot. Can you imagine?
For a show that aired in syndication, there was not
Yeah.
a single
It
network
did
that
not
picked
have
it
a
up.
network.
They just
They
filmed it and hoped for the best and got
Yep.
7 seasons out of this show.
All right, so we got to keep this for next. This is like the stuff we got to talk about on that first episode.
I
It's
know,
stuff
but
we
I'm
know.
excited and I can't help
I
it.
know it. I know
Yeah.
it. I know it. And you guys are
So-
making us watch cartoons first, anyways. So
You said you weren't going to. Are you gonna?
She has to.
are they
If we're only
terrible?
gonna
Are
do
they
it as 2
terrible like the
episodes-
original
Like I said,
series?
I don't know.
Emmy
None of
award
us have
winning.
watched
Granted,
them.
it won the Daytime Emmy for Best Children's Show, but Emmy award winning Star Trek the Animated Series. You're on mute because you
Yeah, I
muted
was
instead
trying
of
to.
turning your lights
I was
on.
telling the stupid Echo to turn my lights back on.
Yeah.
Solidly, these are the only 21 episodes of Star Trek I've never watched. So I can't tell you if they're good or bad.
I'll give it a try.
I'll give
Abby's,
it
just
Abby's gonna
one?
make it 4 minutes into the first episode, just be like, "Fuck
Yeah,
this."
there's no patience. I will. All right. I'll
No,
commit
it's not. I
and
have no
will
patience.
watch
It's I
all
am
21
legitimately
episodes.
afraid of these. Of like right now, watching. I'm legitimately afraid this is ruining Star Trek for me. Like watching the crappy
It's
moments of
not,
it.
because
I'm afraid
you're
that
gonna
it's
get
doing
into
that.
next gen and forget they all exist. Or frankly, you're gonna get to Star Trek 4 and forget everything exists. Like it'll be fine. Just remember the whales, Abbie. Remember the whales.
It wasn't even that good of a movie.
4 is one of the best movies.
That's why.
Those
That's
space
why
whales,
in my
the whales
in
Yes.
my
got Seventh
my
Heaven
what
Mom
I-
in it. I don't know.
in my what I know pre-episode that I did, one of the 10 things, because I listed off 10 things I knew about Star Trek. One of them was there's something about whales. And I want to say one of the producers of either Star Trek 3 or 4, maybe it was both of them. I want to say it was the one with the whales, came and spoke at one of my video production classes in college.
That's quite a grab to get somebody to come in and talk about that
Yeah.
movie.
No, I don't know if that was just like, here's
We're so
who he
highly
is.
educated. Didn't you know that?
I don't remember
Went
his
to that
name,
private
so
school
That private
instead of us
school.
public university folk.
That's
yeah.
right. We were fancy. So it's okay.
I,
We paid back
it's
that
funny. So now I'm
person
really
talking.
looking forward to watching Star Trek 4 because if you don't like it that much, it's going to make for an interesting episode because I think that's like usually thought of as like one of the top three of all the movies.
I don't dislike it. I thought it was kind of random, and I thought it was a little preachy. Kind of back to like original
But
series, same concept. Like
but
you're killing this, you're killing the oceans.
but Star
That kind
Trek
of
has
thing.
always been that way. That's like the people who complain about Star
I
Trek,
suppose
the new Star Trek is too woke. I mean,
it's
if
always been
Star
woke.
Trek
Yeah,
today is too woke, what we just watched in the 60s? Like,
that's fair.
I think that's a silly
I
comparison.
should say this. I've not watched it in years. There were
Such
parts
a
of it I
great.
liked. I just didn't think the plot was that great. I think it was enjoyable. I just don't remember the plot being that great. But that being said, I still to this day cannot drink a glass of apple juice out of a certain kind of glass without thinking Kirk drinking beer for the first time and going, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
that's so awesome."
And Chekhov
Yes.
trying to sneak onto
It,
a nuclear aircraft carrier. Uh,
Nuclear vessels.
nuclear vessels.
He needs to find it. Where are your nuclear vessels?
Because that's
because you both care so much. It was Ralph Winter. He was a producer on he was an associate producer on Star Trek 3, executive producer on Star Trek 4, 5, and a producer on 6, and also producer of X-Men and a bunch of the X-Men movies. So, yeah, that guy came and spoke at one of my video production classes back in
that's like actually pretty
2006.
cool. Was Paul
Yeah.
still there with you too?
No, he was a year ahead of me.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he did. I had a minor in media communication because I wanted to take some video production classes. And like between the prereqs, the classes themselves, it was like 3 more classes to get the minor. So I was like, why the heck not?
It's kind of like I walked out of U of M one course short of a math minor because I wasn't going to spend an extra semester to take one goddamn class, and
That
so
was
I
me with
didn't
Chem.
do it.
And
Yep.
you didn't even take it
Most of
like
us bio
distance
majors
learning,
were
just knock it
one
out.
away.
Because
There
that
was some
minor
distance.
matters
Why?
so much.
I'm old as hell, man. There was
But
no
why?
No,
distance learning for
Aaron,
that.
would I have taken an extra? Would you have paid to take an extra credit from, like, would you
no,
want us to pay for that just for a dumb chemistry minor for zero reason?
no.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have it.
It's funny. It's funny the things I remember though, because I remember that guy coming to my class, and I remember I don't know if it was him that said it or the professor saying, yeah, he was a producer on these Star Trek movies, including the one with the whales. So that is literally all I
I love that
know
that stuck in your head, by
is
the way.
it did, and it has been uh, 17 years or 18 years since then, and that is something that has stuck with me. I have no idea
When did we get so
what it's
old for
about.
that long?
I know. But yeah, I have no idea why that has stuck with me, but it has. So I've known for 18 years there is a Star Trek movie that has something to do with whales, and I have no idea what.
I can't wait. It's such a great movie. We're so close too.
So random.
I love that
We're
movie.
almost there.
It's not that random.
Remember where this ship is coming off of. The whole start of this movie.
Yeah.
The timing is just great.
I love it. It's great. I
Okay.
can't.
Okay.
So
I gotta go to bed.
all right,
I am
I'm tired. I
getting
gotta go to
attacked by
bed.
kids or kittens.
I've had one of the longest 2 week periods of my life. I'm ready to go to sleep.
All right, and
So
in this next 2 week period, you get to watch 7 episodes of the original
I
series.
will take that over the last 2 weeks I've had. So
Well, there you go. Story construction fascinates me. Likewise, the media through which we tell our stories fascinates me. For some people, deconstructing the medium and the story structure may take them out of it. For me, it makes everything that much richer. One of my favorite things about this venture has been trying to figure out why people love the show. What is it about the show that resonates with people? I also enjoy the how, the form of the show, and how the form meets the function, how the structure of the show shapes the story, or at least how the story is told. I feel like I've mentioned it before, but it is truly remarkable that we have this many stories that are this successful considering the constraints of network television in the late 1960s. There are some artists who create because they must. They write because they can't not write. They would write for free if nobody would pay them. And while that may work for writing, and I'd imagine countless people wrote spec scripts and fan fiction for Star Trek, I'll go out on a limb here and say that's not how it works for actual television episode production. So for them to consistently turn out a viable product week after week, with the constraints of a television episode with ad breaks at specific times, is truly remarkable. Sometimes those constraints detracted from the story, or maybe the story could have been told a bit better without them. But without the advertisers, without the network, without those constraints, we don't ever see these stories, neither the good ones nor the not so good ones. Again, it's amazing that they were able to put out this level of work week after week. I'm that much more interested to see where things go in subsequent series as the medium of television changed over the years, moving into subscription-based streaming with less concern for advertiser break constraints, where the story can take the space that it needs, potentially nothing more, nothing less. Watching the original series was a bit of an adjustment compared to the way I normally watch TV today. Since most of the episodes are in the 50-minute range, when I'm used to the hour-long episodes really being about 42 to 44 minutes each, or streaming episodes that can range from 37 to 74, basing these numbers solely on feel and not any actual study. That means these stories are about 15% longer, give or take, than an average episode we may see from a network show today. The canvas is bigger for telling these stories, and sometimes that's good. Clearly, sometimes it's not. Either way, I find it, as Spock would say, fascinating. Well, I think that's enough for this episode. I've got a lot of work to prepare for the next one and better get to it. If you're watching along with us, next time we are planning a marathon session through the final 7 episodes of the original series. As always, I want to thank you again for spending some time with us discussing Star Trek. I know I'm glad to have joined the ranks of the Trekkies in discovering my love of this franchise, even at this point in Season 3 when the episodes aren't necessarily all that great. If you enjoy what we're doing here, please share it with a friend and leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at BaldlyGoPodcast and To Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. For Abbie and Nate, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender.
Oh, the kid just took out my kneecap.